Hey guys, it's time to review a guitar I just picked up yesterday at a thrift shop for 25 bucks. And it's actually a mini guitar. It is the Razor X mini travel guitar, which dates back to probably the 1990s. I don't find anything about this company online anymore. If you guys know who made the Razor X, where they are now, what happened to this company, let's check it out and let's get into it. This is not really a toy, even though it looks like a toy. This is designed to be a travel guitar for a working musician, a pro, if you will. Somebody who needs to be able to practice their licks while riding on that tour bus or on that airplane. So it is a mini guitar, but it's made with some professional quality parts, and it has a built-in amplifier. I'm going to go over this thing head to toe kind of quick, but it is made with professional parts, but there's a lot of design flaws, in my opinion, that prevented it from being as good as it could have been. So let's see, where do we begin? Let's go head to toe, heel to head, the butt end. Let's start at the butt end. The bridge. This is a full-size, full-scale Stratocaster style bridge with all the saddle pieces and adjustable intonation. And this is really more complicated of a piece and heavier and bigger than I think this particular guitar really warranted. This thing is made of like 40 separate pieces when you consider each saddle has 2 adjustable hex nuts and a spring and a doodad and blah, blah, blah. It's very much like a aftermarket Strat copy bridge, except it does not include the whammy bar. And to do that, they would have had to drill a lot of wood out of this thing, and that doesn't make sense for a practice guitar. But personally, I think they could have got away with a much cheaper 2-piece bridge without all the adjustments. What do you need to adjust it for? You're not recording with it. You're just goofing around on the tour bus. But it's a good bridge. Don't get me wrong. It's a very quality bridge. Next, moving this way, is a single coil pickup. Because it has no coils or magnets shown, it kind of is reminiscent of the EMG noiseless pickups, but it is not noiseless. It's not bad. It's a high quality pickup compared to what you would get on today's cheap, Esquire type beginner guitar. Again, this is professional materials and workmanship throughout. I just think the design is a little kooky in many respects. Okay, then the sound hole is not a sound hole. It is a, what would that be, a 4-inch speaker? A 4-inch speaker, and it has a little ring and a little grill. And I will let you hear the speaker in a minute. This thing works, by the way. And I'll tell you how I fixed it and so forth. The neck. The neck, I think, is the best part of this guitar. The neck is high quality. Looks like a maple neck. Very solid. This neck is flawless in terms of there's not any dings or scratches on it. The frets are well done. They don't stick out and slice your fingers off like today's cheapo guitars. They're fairly thin, I would say medium style frets, and there is plenty of fret wear on the first few frets, but very little fret wear on the higher frets. And there is that little extra fret that hangs over. Oh, that's in the way. You see how there's a piece of wood hanging over. So there's even an extra fret on here, which seems like a lot of work and a lot of trouble to go to for a practice guitar. But there it is. The nut. The nut is one of the low points of this guitar because, well, it's a piece of plastic and it's floating. It's not supposed to float. Sometimes bridges float, but nuts are not supposed to float. So if I bend up a string, the nut just popped out. It just popped up 1/8 of an inch. So I find myself shoving it back. What can we use to shove it back with? How about a giant flashlight? There you go. Guitar luthier skills. But if you had strings, it came with 4 strings at the store, okay? 2 strings busted. So I'll throw in some extra strings. But if there were all 6 strings in there, the tension might not have been weighted in this direction. It might have held the nut down. We can glue it on. It's not a big deal. Not that big of a negative compared to some of the others I'm going to show you. Okay, the headstock. and 6 tuners. These are nice tuners. These are nicer tuners than you're going to get on some of today's cheaper, Chinese guitars. These are perfectly smooth, nice tuners. The thing stays in tune. It's got the string trees like a Strat. My criticism of the design is the headstock is much bigger than it needed to be for a travel guitar. The whole point of a travel guitar is to make it small. And they could have done 3 on one side, 3 on the other side, like a Les Paul style, and shrunk this whole thing down 2 or 3 inches. So it's longer than it needs to be. Stylistically, that wouldn't have been holding with the Strat styling. So what? It's a travel guitar. No one's going to appear on stage with it, I hope. So minor criticism, but there's more wood and more mass and more length here than needed to be on a travel guitar. Let's see. Okay, I passed up the volume knob and the on-off switch. There's an on-off switch with a LED status light. And guess what it does? Yeah, the amplifier works. It's not very loud. In fact, I think you could get the same loudness out of it had you just made it an acoustic guitar and forgot the electronics completely. And that would have been more acceptable for traveling, I guess, but whatever. The price tag that I haven't got off yet, $25. Don't tell the wife. Why did you waste $25 on that? Because it was a fun toy. Now, the back is where this gets interesting. This thing is powered by a 9-volt battery. And the 9-volt battery compartment that it came with is this clunky, awful piece of garbage, which I took out. This thing is much bigger than it needs to be. It's clunky, it's noisy, it's got springs, it's a lot plasticky. I had put a battery in and pushed it down, and I couldn't figure out how to get the thing open, so I actually took the screws out. And when I took the screws out and plopped the whole thing out, I realized it was already connected by a 9-volt battery connector. So I can connect the 9-volt battery directly to the thingy. What do you call this thing? Battery adapter? You've seen those. So, like, this thing is really stupid, and whoever owned the guitar first, let me show you. They had all this duct tape on here to cover this thing, because it doesn't actually close properly. So, tons of duct tape, very stupid, very yuck. And now I gotta de-goo all this duct tape goo that's been on here for 20 or 30 years, but no problem. The good news is the battery stays in by itself because it's actually touching the speaker magnet, and the speaker magnet will hold the battery in. That's not a good solution, but for today it could work. And I had to take this off. Okay, did I mention when I got this thing home, the sound electric guitar jack was crackly and intermittent. It would like go on and then you'd move it and it would go off. So that's a very typical thing with older electronics, especially guitars and stuff. You have a loose solder or a cold solder joint that's causing an intermittency. So I went in with a soldering iron and I resoldered all the connections on the main jack. Works fine now, but there are 2 jacks in here, which is unusual. There is what we call a 1/4-inch phono jack, and that is for the main electric guitar. And there's this other jack, which is what do you call that? The little headphone one. What is that? 1/8 of an inch? Let's get a pair of headphones and see if I can listen to this thing. Hold on, don't move. I keep all my important stuff hanging on guitars because there's no exercise equipment in here to hang it on. I'm just going to stick in a pair of headphones. I haven't tested this. I don't know what this jack does. Maybe it's an input. Maybe it's an output. Maybe it's who knows what. Oh, jeez. Yes, headphones work fine. That's a little intermittent too. It's probably the crappy headphones. Okay, you can't hear this, but am I talking too loud? Yeah, the headphone jack, if that's what it is, works fine. It's loud. So I guess that's a good use of this whole travel guitar concept, is you're playing on an airplane. Will they let you take this thing on an airplane? Or is it a weapon? Because it can be used as an axe. if you're on an airplane or a bus or a limo, I always go to my gigs in a limo, you can jam along with the headphones. So that works fine. I literally didn't even think of that or test that till now. So where was I? Just got smacked in the face by a broken G string. And I think you know how fun that can be. All right, there's a little container cover for the back hole, as it were. I'll put that back on now that I'm done screwing around with the soldering. So what parts didn't I mention? Another one of my criticisms is this whole stupid speaker thing, which I don't think was necessary. Yeah, you need the speaker, but they could have done it as a flush mount from behind and just drilled some holes behind it, and then you wouldn't have had to you have this stupid grill and this stupid ring-a-ding thing. And it would have been a much cleaner design had they just mounted the speaker from the back and pushed it in. But would have required more complicated routing, but it would have been a cleaner look. Okay. Maybe I didn't mention the action is kind of crappy. The action is kind of high. I don't see a truss rod up here, and there's no room to find one down here, so I don't know if this neck is adjustable or not. To me, that would seem to be overkill for this guitar to have an adjustable truss rod, but everything about this design is overkill, if you ask me. All right, let's crank her up. Oh, you gotta turn on the on button. On button. On button. LED. It's not very loud. You can hear it without the amp. That's as loud as it goes. Okay. It's in some weird tuning that's not a real tuning, but I'm going with it anyway because it's got kind of a Sonic Youth feel. You suck as a guitar player, Greg? That remains to be seen. That's what it sounds like. This little tiny speaker sounds kind of crappy. How about a guitar pick? Would that make me sound less crappy? I'm lifting it up so you guys can see me. So if I play down here, it would sound a little better. What was I saying? Guitar pick, action. The action's crappy. Yeah, and I don't know if it has a truss rod. You can also adjust, do some shimming. Oh, by the way, there's no cover plate. Usually a Strat has a metal plate here, so the screws are digging right into the wood. Not that big a deal to me, but most of this is overbuilt, and they underbuilt this part, in my opinion. They could have just put a washer in there to keep the screw from digging into the wood. And the guitar strap placement is an unusual spot on the back of the neck instead of on the body. This is how you would normally do an acoustic guitar. Whatever. It's a cool little toy, and I got more to show you, so don't go away. But what about this? And what about this? Fender Deluxe. Action high. Guitar player bad. I get it. So that note dies out because the dies out. Again, that's my bad Sonic Youth impression. this. That didn't tell you anything. The speaker does not work when the guitar cable is plugged in. I just discovered that. Do you care? Who knows? Anyway, that kind of wraps up this mini review of the mini Razor X Mini travel guitar from a company that seems to be defunct. If you guys know anything about this company, what happened to them, what they're still doing, is a creator of this out there? Does he want to come on the channel and, I don't know, hang out, chill? Anyway, guys, that's it. I'm going to put some new strings on it. I'm going to clean off this goo, and I'm going to be rocking and rolling in a mini way. All right, thanks for watching. Talk to you soon.